Every love story begins somewhere. Every heartbreak leaves a mark. Welcome to Stories That Stay With You. Welcome to House of BL Stories. I've been able to smell lies my entire life. Not in a metaphorical way, not in a way that therapists call intuitive or emotionally perceptive. I mean literally, physically. Every lie has a scent, and I can smell it. The first time I noticed it, I was 4 years old. My mother told me she loved me, and I smelled burnt sugar, sweet on the surface but acrid underneath. She loved me, yes, but she was lying about something. The lie was small. She'd hiding that she'd eaten the last cookie from the jar, but the scent was unmistakable. My grandmother told me my father was coming home from work soon. I smelled wet ash. He wasn't coming home. He'd left for good 3 days earlier, and she was lying to protect me. I learned to keep it to myself. People don't like it when you can smell their deceptions. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them feel exposed and vulnerable. I learned to nod and smile and pretend I couldn't detect the rotting fruit scent of a politician's promise, the metallic tang of a friend's fake enthusiasm, the sour milk of a lover's "I'll call you tomorrow." I'm 24 now, an Omega, unbonded. I work as a consultant for law enforcement agencies, helping them determine when suspects are lying. The pay is good, the work is interesting, and I get to stay far away from the kind of people who would try to use my ability for their own gain. Or so I thought. The day I met the alpha who would change everything, I was in the precinct's interview room. Standard procedure. The detective had brought in a suspect for questioning. A beta in his late 30s with nervous eyes and sweating palms. I was there to observe, to take notes, to smell the truth. Except none of that mattered when the door opened and I caught the first whiff of something I had never encountered before. Nothing. There was no scent at all. I looked up from my notebook. A man walked in behind the detective. He was tall, built like someone who had spent years in physical labor, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that were the color of old whiskey. His jaw was sharp, his cheekbones high, and his lips were pressed into a firm line that suggested he wasn't used to smiling. And there was absolutely no scent coming off him. No alpha musk, no beta neutrality, no omega sweetness. Nothing. Not even the baseline smell of human skin, the one everyone has regardless of designation. He smelled like air, like nothingness, like absence. I felt my heart stutter in my chest. "Mr. Kim," the detective said, gesturing to me, "this is Special Agent Shin from the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency. He's been assigned to this case from the Special Investigations Division. Agent Shin, this is our consultant, Mr. Kim." I stood up on legs that felt suddenly uncertain. "Please call me Jae-hyun. Just Jae-hyun is fine." Special Agent Shin extended his hand. I took it. His palm was warm, his grip firm, and I felt nothing from him. No alpha attraction pheromones, no dominant posturing, no subtle hints at his status or mood. Nothing. But there was something else. The moment our skin touched, I felt a spark, a jolt. The kind of electric shock that makes you gasp and pull away, except I couldn't pull away. His grip held me in place as his eyes searched mine, and I saw something flicker in those whiskey depths. Surprise. Recognition. Something that looked almost like pain. "Mr. Kim," he said. His voice was rough, the sound of someone who didn't speak often. "I've heard a lot about you." I blinked. "You have?" "Your reputation precedes you." He released my hand and I felt the loss immediately. The absence of his touch was like stepping out of warm sunlight into shade. "They say you can smell a lie from a mile away." He was testing me. I could feel it in the way he held himself, the tension in his shoulders, the careful blankness of his expression. But I couldn't smell anything from him. No deception scent, no truth scent, nothing. Just blank, empty nothingness. "I have a talent," I said carefully. "That's all." "Talent," he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Is that what they're calling it these days? The suspect at the table had been watching this exchange with growing confusion. He cleared his throat. Can we get on with this? I have places to be. Detective Park, the man who had brought me in, nodded sharply. Of course. Please, have a seat. I sat down across from the suspect, my notebook open in front of me. But I couldn't focus. Every nerve in my body was screaming at me to look at Agent Shin, to figure out why he had no scent, to understand what that jolt between us had meant. I'd felt things like it before. Everyone in the Omegaverse knew what that spark meant. It was the sign of a fated match, the 1 in a million connection that soulmates were supposed to have. But that was impossible. Fated matches were supposed to be about scent, about pheromones, about the way one person's biology called out to another's. How could a man with no scent be my fated alpha? How do you know the defendant? Agent Shin asked, pulling out a chair and sitting beside me. His presence was a distraction I couldn't escape. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, could see the way his muscles moved beneath his suit jacket, could hear the steady rhythm of his breathing. I shook my head. Focus. The suspect, Park Jong-suo, shifted uncomfortably. I told the detective already. I don't know the victim. I was at work that night. The victim was your business partner, Agent Shin said, pulling out a file. You had a falling out 3 months ago over the division of assets. You threatened him in front of witnesses. That was just talk. People say things they don't mean when they're angry. Agent Shin leaned forward. People say things they don't mean. But what about things they do mean? I watched Park Jong-suo's face. Sweat was beading on his forehead. His hands were trembling slightly, and I could smell it. The sharp, acrid scent of fear mixed with something else. Guilt. I turned to Agent Shin. He's lying. Both men looked at me. Agent Shin's expression was unreadable. Park Jong-suo's was panicked. What do you mean? You can smell it? I nodded. There's a specific scent that comes with deception. It's different for every person, but it's always there. Mr. Park is covering something up. He knows more than he's saying. Objection! Park Jong-suo shouted, slamming his hand on the table. This is ridiculous. You can't base a case on some Omega's sense of smell. I'm not just some Omega. I'm a consultant for the police. My testimony has held up in court multiple times. I can tell when someone is lying, and right now you're lying about everything. Park Jong-suo's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. This is insane. I want a lawyer. The victim, I continued, my voice steady, was killed with a knife from your own kitchen. The same knife you used to cut meat at your restaurant. The same knife that has your fingerprints on it. I could smell it now. The truth. It was like the scent of clean rain washing away the lies. You didn't intend to kill him. The fight got out of hand, but you covered it up, made it look like a robbery. You're scared, and you're guilty, but mostly you're scared. Park Jong-suo's face crumpled. His shoulders sagged, and he put his head in his hands. I didn't mean to. We were arguing about the money, and he pushed me, and I just grabbed the knife. I didn't mean to kill him. Detective Park was already on his feet, pulling out handcuffs. Park Jong-suo, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The suspect didn't resist as the detective led him away. His confession hung in the air like smoke. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Then I turned to look at Agent Shin. He was watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Those whiskey-colored eyes were fixed on my face, cataloging every micro-expression, every little movement. He was studying me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "You're good," he said. "I wasn't sure what to expect, but you're good." Something warm bloomed in my chest at the praise. I tamped it down immediately. It's just a talent, a skill. A skill that you can smell lies? I nodded. Everyone has a scent when they lie. It's different for each person. For you, I paused, frowning, there's nothing. You don't smell like anything. Agent Shin's expression flickered. A shadow of something passed over his face. Pain? Sorrow? And was gone. Is that so? You don't believe me? I asked, even though I already knew. The flatness of his voice told me everything. You think I'm making this up? That I have some kind of delusion? I think you believe you're telling the truth, he said carefully. I just wonder if you might be wrong. I felt a flash of anger. I'm not wrong. I've never been wrong. Never? His eyebrow raised. That seems like a lot of pressure. I opened my mouth to argue, then I stopped, because I smelled it. Not from Agent Shin. He was still a blank void of nothing, but from myself, the scent of my own deception. He'd said I was good, and I had said it was just a skill, but that was a lie. A small one maybe, but a lie, nonetheless. I was proud of my ability. I worked hard to maintain it. I'd spent years honing it, training it, making it stronger. I'd lied to him, and I could smell it on myself. What's wrong? Agent Shin asked, his eyes narrowing. You look like you've seen a ghost. I shook my head. Nothing, it's nothing. He stood up, smoothing down his suit. Well, thank you for your help. The department appreciates your work. I stood too, suddenly unwilling to let him leave. Wait. He paused, looking back at me. Yes? I didn't know what I was going to say. I just knew that I couldn't let him walk away. Not yet. Not with that strange spark still humming in my veins. Are you going to be working on this case? Probably. I've been assigned to assist with the investigation. Good. That's good. I'll probably be called in for follow-up questions. I can help if you need me. A ghost of a smile flickered across his lips. I'll keep that in mind. He turned to leave. I watched him walk away, my heart beating fast for reasons I couldn't explain. The door swung shut behind him, and the room suddenly felt colder. I sat back down, my hands shaking slightly. What the hell had just happened? The sun was setting by the time I left the precinct. Seoul was coming alive with the sound of evening traffic, the distant hum of nightclubs starting their preparations, the smell of street food wafting from nearby vendors. I should have been thinking about the case, the confession, the way Park Jun-seo's face had crumpled when I'd exposed his truth. But all I could think about was the alpha with no scent. I walked the short distance to my apartment, my mind spinning. A fated match. That was impossible. Fated matches were based on scent, on pheromones, on the biological imperative that drew alphas and omegas together. How could I be fated to someone who didn't have a scent? I climbed the stairs to my apartment, mentally reviewing everything I knew about fated matches. They were rare, maybe 1 in 1,000. They were intense, overwhelming, a chemical connection that was almost impossible to resist. And they were supposed to be with someone who completed you, whose scent complemented yours in a way that made you feel whole. Not with a man who smelled like nothing. I unlocked my door and stepped inside, kicking off my shoes. The apartment was small, a studio in a less desirable part of the city, but it was mine. It had a bed in one corner, a small kitchen in the other, and a window that looked out onto the street below. I was still thinking about Agent Shin when I realized something. He hadn't used a scent blocker. Most law enforcement alphas used scent blockers. It was professional etiquette, a way to keep the office from being overwhelmed by alpha pheromones. But he hadn't used any. I'd been close enough to smell him, and there was nothing. No trace of blockers, no trace of anything. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. Scent blockers left a distinctive mark, a chemical sharpness that was unmistakable. He hadn't used them. He just didn't smell like anything at all. I pulled out my phone and called the one person I trusted with this kind of information. Jae-hun? Hanyo's voice crackled through the speaker. What's wrong? You only call me this late when something's wrong. Can I come over? I asked. I need to talk to you about something. Something weird. Define weird. I hesitated. I met someone today. An alpha. And I can't smell anything on him. There was a pause on the other end of the line. What do you mean, nothing? I mean, nothing. No scent at all. Not even a baseline human scent. It's like he's a void. Like he's not even there. That's not possible. Hanil's voice was concerned now. Everyone has a scent. Everyone. That's what I thought too, but there's more. I swallowed hard. When he touched me, I felt a connection, A spark, like a faded match. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "Jae-hun," Hanil said finally, "you need to come over, now. We need to talk about this in person." "On my way." I hung up and grabbed my coat. Whatever was happening, Hanil would help me figure it out. He always did. Hanil's apartment was on the other side of the city, but I made it there in 15 minutes flat. I practically sprinted up the stairs, my heart pounding. He opened the door before I could knock. "Get in here." I stepped inside, looking around. Hanil's apartment was a mess, as usual. Books everywhere, scattered papers, half-empty coffee cups. But his eyes were sharp and focused as he studied my face. "Tell me everything," he said, "from the beginning." I told him about the case, about the suspect, about the moment Agent Shin walked into the room and I smelled nothing. I told him about the spark when we touched, the way I felt a pull toward him, the way he'd asked me if I'd ever been wrong. "And he's a cop?" I asked. "He's Special Investigations. He just got assigned to the case." Hanil paced back and forth, his fingers drumming against his thigh. "This is bad. This is really bad. You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared." He stopped pacing and turned to face me. "Jae-hun, there's only one reason an alpha wouldn't have a scent." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "A dead alpha," he said quietly. "When an alpha dies, the pheromones that live in their body dissipate within minutes. The scent fades completely. There's nothing left." "That doesn't make any sense. He's clearly alive. He was standing right in front of me." "Are you sure? Are you absolutely certain he was alive?" "I touched him. He was warm. He was breathing. He was... I stopped. The memory hit me like a physical blow. He was standing in front of the window. The sun was behind him." "So?" "The sun was behind him," I repeated. "But there was no shadow. He didn't cast a shadow on the floor." Hanil's face went pale. "Jae-hun, I didn't notice at the time. I was too focused on the scent. But now that I'm thinking about it, he was there in front of the window, and there was no shadow." I felt cold. So cold. My fingers were numb, and my voice came out like a whisper. "What is he?" "I don't know." Hanil ran his hand through his hair. "But you need to stay away from him. Whatever he is, whatever connection you felt, it's not natural. You need to stay far away." "You don't understand." I sat down heavily on his couch. "I felt it. The spark. The pull. It was real. I've never felt anything like it." "Faded matches are about scent. He has no scent. That means he can't be your faded alpha." "Then what was it?" He didn't have an answer. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what was happening to me. The next morning, I got a call from Detective Park. There had been a development in the case, something about the victim's financial records. Could I come down to the precinct? I went. When I arrived, Agent Shin was already there. He was standing by the window, looking out at the street below. The morning sun was streaming in, and I watched for it, for the shadow that should have been there. There was none. My heart hammered in my chest. Hanul had been right. Something was very, very wrong with this man. "Agent Shin," Detective Park called out. "The consultant is here." Agent Shin turned. Those whiskey-colored eyes found mine, and I felt that spark again. The pull, the overwhelming desire to be closer to him. I fought it with everything I had. "Mr. Kim," he nodded at me. "Thank you for coming." "I'm just doing my job," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "What's the development?" Detective Park spread out some papers on the table. "The victim had a secret account. We found it this morning. There were large withdrawals over the past few months, all made to an offshore company." I studied the papers, my mind racing. The scent of the office was overwhelming. The stale coffee, the sweat of the officers, the lingering traces of past suspects. But over all of it, I could smell the truth. "This is a setup," I said. Detective Park looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "The victim was embezzling money from his own company, but someone else was moving it. Someone with access to his accounts." I pointed at the paper. "Look at the dates. These withdrawals all happened on the same day that Park Jun-so was out of town. He was at a conference in Busan." Agent Shin stepped closer, peering at the documents. "So Jun-so couldn't have made these withdrawals?" "No," I shook my head, "which means someone else was framing him. The victim had a partner in crime, and that partner is still out there." "You can smell this?" Agent Shan asked. "You can smell that there's another player involved?" I nodded. The guilt in Jun-so's confession was real, but there was something else there too, something he was holding back. I thought it was just fear, but now I think he was protecting someone. "Who?" "I don't know, but I can find out." Agent Shin's eyes flickered with something I couldn't identify. "How?" I smiled grimly. "I'm going to talk to him." Park Jun-so was in holding, waiting to be transferred to the county jail. He looked up when I entered the cell, his face haggard. "You again," he said bitterly. "Come to smell more lies?" "I came to talk." I sat down on the cot across from him. "I know you're protecting someone. I know you didn't act alone." Jun-so's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I can smell it on you." I leaned forward. "The guilt is there, yes, but there's something else. Loyalty. Love. You're protecting someone you care about." I can smell his defenses crumbling, the sour scent of denial mixed with the sweet relief of confession, and underneath it all, a faint, distinctive scent. Lavender. I knew that scent. I'd smelt it somewhere before. "Who is it?" I pressed. "Who are you protecting?" Jun-so looked away. "I can't tell you. He'll kill me. He'll kill my family." "Who will?" "Ji-hoon, my brother-in-law. He's the one who set it all up. He found out about the embezzling and used it as leverage. He made me do it. He said if I didn't help him, he'd make sure my wife found out about everything." "What everything?" Jun-so's eyes filled with tears. "My gambling, my debts, the reason I started stealing from the company in the first place. He was going to tell her everything. I couldn't let that happen." I sat back, my mind spinning. Ji-hoon. The name was familiar. I realized why. Ji-hoon was the victim's business partner. He'd been in the office the first day, the one who had recommended I be brought in. He'd been friendly, cooperative, helpful. And he'd been wearing lavender cologne. "I know what to do," I said, standing up. "Thank you, Mr. Park. You've been very helpful." I left the cell and walked back to the main office. Detective Park and Agent Shin were waiting for me. "I know who it is," I said. "It's the victim's business partner, Min Ji-hoon. He's the one who set everything up." "You're sure?" Detective Park asked. "I'm sure. He's planning to skip town. He probably has a ticket already. You need to stop him before he disappears." Detective Park was already on his phone, calling for reinforcements. "We'll get a team together. Agent Shin, can you?" But Agent Shin was already gone. I turned, looking around. He'd been standing right next to me a moment ago, and now he was gone. The door was still swinging from his departure. "Where did he go?" I asked. Detective Park looked up from his phone. "He's already on it. Man moves fast." I left the office and ran down the hall. The building was a maze of corridors and stairwells, and I didn't know which way he'd gone. Then I felt it. The pull. The connection. It was pulling me toward the parking lot. I burst through the doors and saw them. Min Ji-hoon trying to get into his car, and Agent Shin, his hand gripping the man's shoulder. "Let go of me," Ji-hoon shouted. "You have no right to—" "I have every right." Agent Shin's voice was cold. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, embezzlement, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Ji-hoon struggled, but Agent Shin's grip was like iron. "You can't do this. I have connections. I'll have your job for this." "I don't think so." Agent Shin pulled out handcuffs and secured them around Ji-hoon's wrists. "Your connections won't help you. Not this time." I watched it all happen, my heart pounding. The morning sun was bright, streaming down, and I could see everything clearly. Agent Shin didn't cast a shadow. It was unmistakable now. He was standing in the middle of the parking lot with the sun directly above him, and there was nothing on the ground beneath him. No shadow, no dark shape, nothing. He was dead. He'd been dead for years, and somehow, impossibly, he was walking around like a living person. After Ji-hoon was taken away, I didn't go back inside the precinct. I couldn't. I stood in the parking lot, staring at the spot where Agent Shin had been, trying to process what I'd seen. "You know, don't you?" I turned around. He was there, standing behind me. No footsteps, no sound of approach, just there. "Know what?" I asked, even though I already knew. He smiled sadly. "That I'm dead. That I've been dead for 7 years." I felt my knees go weak. I leaned against a car for support. "How? Does it matter?" "Yes," my voice came out louder than I intended. "It matters. I felt a connection with you. I thought you were my fated match. And now you're telling me you're a ghost? A zombie? What are you?" "I don't know what I am." He looked away, his jaw tight. "I died 7 years ago. I was a police officer, working a case. I got shot in the line of duty. I remember dying. I remember the pain, the darkness, the cold. But you're here." I woke up 3 days later, in my own apartment. There was no explanation, no reason. I was just back, but different. He gestured at himself. No scent, no shadow, no reflection in mirrors. I eat, I sleep, I breathe, but none of it leaves a trace. I stared at him. How is that possible? I don't know. I've spent 7 years trying to figure it out. I've talked to priests, shamans, doctors, scientists. No one has any answers. He looked at me, and there was something raw in his eyes. I stopped looking. I just exist. I work cases. I help people. I try to make up for whatever it was that brought me back. "The connection I felt?" I started. He shook his head. "I felt it too. When I touched you, I felt it. It was like being alive again, for just a moment." "This isn't possible," I said. "Fated matches are for living people. I'm alive, you're not. It doesn't work like this." "No." He stepped closer. "It doesn't. But that doesn't mean it's not real." I closed my eyes, trying to breathe. This was insane. A dead alpha with no scent claiming a connection with an omega who could smell lies? And the worst part? I believed him. "You can tell when I'm lying," he said softly. "Can you smell a lie on me?" I opened my eyes. He was standing inches away, and I could feel the warmth coming off his body. I could see the way his chest moved with each breath. He was solid, real, alive in every way that mattered, except the ways that didn't. "No," I admitted. "I can't smell anything on you. Not truth, not lies, nothing." "That's because I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth." He reached out and touched my face. His hand was warm against my cheek. I could feel the warmth coming off his body. I could see the way his chest moved with each breath. He was solid, real, alive in every way that mattered, except the ways that didn't. "I don't understand any of this," I said, and my voice was shaking. "You're dead. You've been dead for 7 years. Why are you still here? Why do you exist?" "I don't know." His thumb traced my cheekbone. "But maybe I'm still here for a reason. Maybe that reason is you." I should have pulled away. I should have run. This was insane. Everything about this was insane. Instead, I leaned into his touch. "I'm Jae-hyun," I said like we were meeting for the first time. "Kim Jae-hyun." He smiled, a genuine smile this time. "I know. And I'm Shin Min-hyuk. Min-hyuk. I tried the name on my tongue. It felt right. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't get Min-hyuk out of my head. He was in my thoughts constantly, a presence that I couldn't shake. I tried to stay away. I tried to focus on my work. I tried to pretend that nothing had happened, that the connection was just a figment of my imagination, that I'd made it all up. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. I felt the warmth of his hand on my face. I heard his voice saying, "Maybe the reason is you." Hanul was no help. "You need to stay away from him," he kept insisting. "Whatever he is, he's not natural. He's not alive. You can't build a life with a dead man." "I know," I said. "I know that, but I can't stop thinking about him." "Then you need to get answers. Find out why he's here. What's keeping him in this world?" Hanul's voice was firm. "Until you know that, you'll never have peace." He was right. I needed answers. I went back to the precinct. Min-hyuk was there, of course. He was always there, like he had nowhere else to be. "I need to ask you something." He looked up from his paperwork. "Of course." "Are there others like you? Other people who've come back?" He set down his pen. "Not that I've found. I've searched. I've looked for years. There's no record of anyone else. I'm the only one." "You think you came back for a reason?" "I know I did." He stood up, walking around his desk to stand in front of me. "I felt it the moment I touched you. I'm here for you." I swallowed hard. "That's crazy." "It is," he smiled. "Believe me, I know. But it's also true. The bond between an alpha and omega, the fated match, it's supposed to be about life, about creating a pack, about continuing the species." He nodded. "I know what it's supposed to be, and I can't give you any of that. I can't mark you, I can't claim you, I can't give you pups." I blinked. "I didn't say I wanted any of that." "Didn't you?" He studied my face. "Don't you want a full life, a normal life, with someone who can give you all those things?" I opened my mouth to answer, but nothing came out, because the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I'd been so focused on my work, on using my ability to help people, that I'd never thought about the future, about a mate, about a pack, about all the things Omegas were supposed to want. "Do you?" I asked instead. "Do you want those things?" "I died 7 years ago. I stopped wanting things after that." We stood there in silence, the distance between us feeling impossibly large. "Maybe I should go," I said finally. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come." "Jae-hyun," his hand on my arm stopped me. "Don't go." His touch was electric. That spark was still there, jumping between us like static electricity. I could feel it in my bones, in my blood, in every nerve ending. "I don't understand this," I said again. "I don't understand any of it." "Neither do I." He pulled me closer. "But I know I want to figure it out. With you." I looked up at him. His eyes were so warm, so alive. It was hard to believe he was anything other than a living, breathing alpha. "Kiss me," I said. He blinked. "What?" "Kiss me." I stepped closer. "I need to know. I need to feel it." "You're sure?" "I've never been less sure of anything in my life." I laughed, and it was a little broken. "But I need to know." He cupped my face in his hands, tilting my head up. "Close your eyes." I did. His lips met mine, and the world disappeared. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a revelation. It was the missing piece of a puzzle I hadn't known I'd been trying to solve. It was the answer to a question I'd never thought to ask. He kissed me like I was the only real thing in his existence, like I was life itself, like I was everything he'd been waiting for. And for a moment, I believed it. I kissed him back, my hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. He was solid and warm and real, and none of it made any sense. How could someone who'd been dead for 7 years feel more alive than anyone I'd ever met? "I can't smell you," I said against his lips. "I want to smell you." "I know," he pulled back, his forehead pressed against mine. "I want you to. I want to be real for you." "You are real." I cupped his face in my hands. "You're the most real thing I've ever felt." We started meeting in secret. I told myself it was for research. I told myself I was trying to figure out what he was, why he was here, what had brought him back. But I was lying. Every time I saw him, the lie grew stronger. The truth was that I wanted him. I wanted him in ways that had nothing to do with research and everything to do with desire. The late nights in his apartment, the way he looked at me like I was the only thing in the room, the way his hands felt on my skin. "You feel so alive," he said one night, his fingers tracing the inside of my wrist. "I can feel your pulse, your blood, your heartbeat." "Can you feel yours?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, I don't have one anymore. My body doesn't work the way it used to." I pressed my hand to his chest. There was no heartbeat, just silence. "It doesn't bother you?" I asked. "It used to." He covered my hand with his. "Now it just is what it is. I've accepted it, mostly." "How did you die?" He was quiet for a long moment. "It was a case I was working on, a trafficking ring. I was the lead investigator. We found the main location, went in, and everything went wrong. I took a bullet trying to protect a young Omega. He was just a kid, not even 16 yet." "You saved him." "I tried." His voice was empty. "The bullet went through me and hit him anyway. We both died in that room." I felt cold. "You both died?" "He came back too for a little while, 3 days later, just like me, but he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the emptiness, the lack of scent, of shadow, of everything that made him human. He ended it." "Ended it?" "He threw himself off a bridge. He didn't come back again." Minyuk's eyes were distant. "I've thought about it, many times, but I could never do it. I thought maybe there was a reason. Maybe I was meant to stay." "Maybe you were." He looked at me then, and there was something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Hope, maybe, or something like it. "Or maybe I was just waiting for you," he said. I started researching. It was easier than facing the impossible truth of our connection. I needed to understand. "The scent is tied to the soul," the shaman said. I'd tracked her down after a month of searching. She was an older Omega, with sharp eyes and the smell of wood smoke clinging to her clothes. "When a person dies, the soul departs. The scent is gone. The shadow is gone. The reflection is gone." "But he's still here," I argued. "He's walking around, talking, breathing. How is that possible?" "His body may be here, but his soul," she shook her head, "his soul is not entirely present. It's like a remnant, a leftover piece that didn't quite leave. So he's a ghost, a spirit? Something like that, but not quite." She studied me with those knowing eyes. "You feel a connection to him, don't you?" "Yes." "And you think he's your fated mate?" "Yes." She leaned back, something like pity in her expression. "Fated mates are a bond of souls. They're connected in ways that transcend biology. It's not about scent or pheromones or the physical body. It's about the soul." "What does that mean for us?" "His soul is only half present. He can't complete the bond. He can't mark you. He can't claim you. He can't give you the connection that fated mates have." "Because he's dead?" "Because he's dead, but—" She paused. "There is one possibility." "Tell me." "The bond can be completed if he comes back to life, fully, completely, with all of his soul intact." "How do I do that?" I don't know, she shook her head. No one knows. It's not the natural order of things. It's a miracle, and miracles can't be manufactured. I found a way. It took me months of research, of talking to spiritual leaders and medical experts and everyone in between. I spent sleepless nights reading ancient texts, studying legends, trying to find anything that could help. And then I found it. A ritual, an ancient one, described in a book that had been banned centuries ago. It was supposed to restore a person's soul, to bring them back from the dead with all of their essence intact. The catch was that it required a sacrifice, a life for a life. I read the words and felt hope surge through me. "Min-hyuk," I said to the next time I saw him, "I found something, a way to bring you back." He looked at me with something like fear. "What do you mean?" "There's a ritual, an ancient one. It can restore your soul, complete the bond between us." "How?" I hesitated. "It requires a sacrifice, a life for a life." His expression darkened. "No." "Min-hyuk, absolutely not. I'm not letting anyone die for me, especially not you." "But the ritual doesn't say it has to be someone else. It could be me. I could—" His hand shot out, gripping my arm so hard it hurt. "You will not sacrifice yourself for me. Do you understand? I won't let you." "But the bond, our connection." "I don't care about the bond," his voice was fierce. "I care about you, the real you, alive and breathing and whole." I looked at him, and I saw the truth in his eyes. He was terrified of losing me, of being alone again. "I love you," I said. He let out a breath, something broken in the sound. "I love you too." Months passed. I didn't do the ritual. I couldn't, not after seeing the fear in his eyes. But the bond was growing stronger. Every day I felt him more. Every touch, every glance, every moment was filled with the intensity of our connection. "I can't live like this," I said one night. "I can't have half of a connection. I can't be your mate without being fully yours." "I know." He pulled me close, his arms wrapping around me. "I know, but I can't let you go. I can't lose you." "What if there's another way?" "There's always another way." I searched again. I read every book, asked every question, explored every avenue, and finally, I found something. The ritual didn't require death. It required sacrifice, yes, but not necessarily death. It required giving up something precious, something significant, something that defined who you were. I knew what it had to be. "I can't smell lies anymore," I said to Min-hyuk one morning. "I don't smell anything anymore." He looked at me, confusion on his face. "What do you mean?" "I gave it up," I smiled, a little sad. "I gave up my ability, the thing that made me special. I sacrificed it." "What?" "I found a way, a different version of the ritual. It required giving up something precious, something that was part of who I am." I touched his face. "I gave it up for you." He stared at me, shock and horror and love warring in his expression. "Jae-hyun, you didn't have to do that." "I know, but I wanted to. I want to be able to live with you, to be your mate fully, even if it means I can't smell lies anymore." Are you sure?" "I can't smell you," I admitted. "I can't smell anything, but I can feel you. I can feel that you're real, and that's all that matters." He kissed me then, fierce and desperate and full of emotion. "You don't deserve me." "Maybe not," I smiled against his lips. "But you have me anyway." The changes were subtle at first. A shadow that appeared beneath his feet, a reflection in the mirror, a faint scent, nothing like a normal alpha, but something that smelled like him. "What's happening?" I asked. "I don't know." He studied his reflection in the bathroom mirror. "I've never had a reflection before, not in 7 years." "Maybe the ritual worked. Maybe you're coming back." He turned to look at me, and there was hope in his eyes, real, tangible hope. "Do you think so?" "I think we're going to find out." We held hands, and for the first time I felt something, a pulse, A heartbeat, faint and irregular, but there. "I can feel you," he said. "Your presence, your scent. It's faint, but it's there." "Can you really?" He nodded. "I feel alive for the first time in 7 years." I smiled. "Good." It was still imperfect. My ability was gone, and I missed it sometimes. The security of knowing when someone was lying, the satisfaction of exposing the truth. But I had something better now. I had him. "What if I never fully come back?" he asked one night. "Then we'll live with what we have." "What if I never mark you, never complete the bond?" "Then we'll still be together." He looked at me, and there was something like wonder on his face. "Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you giving up so much for me?" I smiled. "Because I can smell it." "What?" "The truth." I touched his chest, feeling the faint beat beneath my palm. "The truth about us, about what we are to each other." "And what's that?" I leaned in and kissed him. "Forever. You and me. That's the only truth that matters." He kissed me back, and I felt it, the bond completing itself, thread by thread, connection by connection. He wasn't fully alive yet, maybe he never would be, but he was here, he was real, and he was mine. "Tell me something," I said one day, months later. "Tell me a lie." He raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "I want to see if I can still smell it." "You said you couldn't smell anything." "I know," I smiled, "but I want to test it." He thought for a moment. "Your cooking is good." I laughed. "That's not a lie. I'm a terrible cook." "Fine." He leaned in, his eyes sparkling. "I don't love you." I closed my eyes, waiting for the scent, the one I'd smelled all my life, the burnt sugar, the wet ash, the rotting fruit, waiting for the lie. Nothing. I opened my eyes. "I can't smell anything." "Good," he kissed me, "because it wasn't true. I love you more than I've ever loved anything." "I know." I kissed him back. "I can tell."
Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next story.